Friday night. Neil Atkinson with Erdinger and the wonderful Spanish caravan here, having a great time. I've got Rob Gutmann, I've got Ian Salmon, and I've got Phil Blundell. Good lord, sorry about that, Phil. Terrible state.
Completely went for a second, didn't it?
It was indeed.
I feel like I nearly killed you.
Special pause there for Phil, as the the Erdinger must have
Still
gone down.
feeling guilty then.
Nearly went down the wrong way. Enjoying myself so much. I want us to start with Luton because it filters into what we're doing next, Rob, which is the final. Because from the sound of things, I think there's not going to be a ton of changes between Luton and this one. So let's accentuate the positive, which was second half against Luton. They were absolutely electric.
Second best Liverpool performance of my lifetime, I think. I think that's what Jurgen tried to say afterwards. And I broadly concur with him. Second only to Barcelona. I fucking love that he brought... Not only did he bring it into the press conference afterwards, he actually admitted that he used that motivationally. He was mildly guilty about it, but it's funny, and also he was correct. It was the right thing to do. You know how we all mocked those Arsenal celebrations after they beat us? Well,
right.
People decided to mock him. I think laughing at people.
I'm basically sound with them.
I don't give a fuck. Main thing is I don't give a fuck how people celebrate, as long because I'm going to be nowhere near them celebrating about our demise. But that's
good to know.
It's not my problem. I'm long gone from any ground where they're celebrating.
No.
But
enjoy yourselves. It was like when everyone talked about the Boston Coglu thing, when there was loads of chat about that earlier in the season, and I was a bit like, I didn't understand who the fuck was still looking at the television screen at that point. I was in the toilet to the Queen of Hope Street having a cry. That's where I was, and I was doing my own thing. That was not my business.
They could be doing a conga all around the fucking ground floor, and that's kind of what we were doing. Luton, it was like we'd won the World Cup. And do you know what? With the peril going into the game, you looked at the team and the lack of changes off the bench and went, if they come and play well and they're stoic and they give us, they give us a game, this is not going to be straightforward. Even if we play quite well with that team and we don't have any changes, and then you're one down and it goes all the way to half time, one down. I was with you at half time. We weren't really talking. I was next to Steve in the match, and Steve is very quick to watch if anyone's too negative during the match. He doesn't like it. So I was his silent partner. I said nothing for that first half. I was fuming. Even though the weird thing was, for a while until they scored, I thought we were all right.
First 10 minutes we were genuinely great.
I thought we were all right.
Quite funny because I was next to my brother and I said, we started really well here. It wasn't what I expected. Then he went, yeah, but you've got to make it pay. And I was like, yeah, but you still started well. Oh, hang on. It was literally as we scored.
Well, it was the thing. My problem with the Luton game was I was fine on 3, I was fine on 13, I was bearable on 23. By 43, I was prepared to walk out of that ground and back footballing. And I'm glad I didn't, because you got second half in, which was a big rousing performance, a rousing crowd, but also roused by a great set of players.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to accentuate.
That's absolutely the thing to accentuate, because that first half, I was kind of like, if this is the way we let Man City back in, we're knackered, because you give City an advantage to not go and drop it again. I couldn't see any change. All I could see was a lack of movement, bad ideas, a goalkeeper who was going long and it not working at all. I couldn't see how he changed it apart from bringing Andy Robbo on. And it turned out I knew even less than I thought I knew. I'm quite happy to admit I know bugger all, but I knew less than bugger all on that one. It's one of the best turnarounds I've ever seen from us. It's absolutely brilliant. I won't say it's as good as Barcelona. Jurgen's allowed to, because he's basically on end of term at the moment, and he can say 8 and he won't. So it's...
Tell you what, if we win the league by half a point, I'm going to say...
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
No, you don't want
goal
to...
difference.
By goal difference. By goal difference.
Then it's the 3 goals
I will cite the Luton game where we were big, where we were finished, and I will go, that was bigger than Barcelona, because winning the league is bigger than winning the European Cup.
I will accept that. And I will come on the show and I will publicly apologise to you for it. I'll accept it.
And I will take it graciously.
Fair enough.
No,
How about you?
The thing with why it was so big though was when you look at the team, I think it's the team that starts. If you asked everybody to pick their best Liverpool team, and I know that team never plays together.
All the hits.
The Champions League final and the Manchester United one never played together and all this. Some people would genuinely have 2 players from their best team that was starting in that game in Van Dijk and McAllister. Some people probably have 4, some people have 2. I think most people would have 3. But that is the sheer number. Now, if you go to any other team...
So you can only have 3 of your 11.
And have 3 of your 11. we'd be rubbing our hands together.
Yeah.
If Arsenal or Manchester City go into their game tomorrow like that, you're rubbing your hands together. You're looking at their
equivalent. What is City's equivalent?
It was like City not having Edison, Kyle Walker, Ruben Dias,
De Bruyne,
Rodri,
Haaland.
and Foden probably.
Yeah.
Currently Foden.
Right. Now, if you imagine and possibly even Bernardo Silva as well.
Yeah, and Bernardo. Yeah, you'd sort of fancy. I'd fancy
You'd be looking at it and going, I know it's Luton, but tell you what, I'm happy about this. Same with Arsenal. If they had 7 missing, the team they'd be putting out, and it's a lot to be said for our depth because we're able to put out. I think we're probably able to put out a better team than those 2 teams in that situation.
Yep.
Which is a plus point. But you've still got to go out there. You still got to do it. You still got to win. You know, players who aren't used to patterns. Like, you know, the thing I always think is about attacking patterns.
Yep.
Like, and it's what pre-season is, and it's why I'll defend Gravenberch quite heavily. He doesn't have that bit in pre-season where they're basically doing football.
Well,
so they can just play football with their eyes closed.
He doesn't have a football in pre-season anywhere, does he?
That's exactly it. Now that team isn't going. Conor Bradley wasn't doing pre-season going, right, well, I'm going to pass to that man there because that man wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was a different player, and they're all getting on wavelengths. They're all basically playing football to the second ago, so they can play with their eyes closed effectively and go, I'm passing there. Like, look at Van Dijk's big switch, for example.
Yeah.
Plays to Salah. He doesn't look. He just knows he's there.
I thought this was the brilliant thing about substitutions we made at the end. You bring on Bobby Clark and James McConnell, and they don't think that everybody else is better than them, not overall better experience. They just know this is their job. This is the job they do. It's the job they've been learning for a decade now. And they do it. And they just fit in perfectly because the shape works for them.
And we bring on man of the match, Jayden Downs.
He was fantastic.
Who I'm starting in the League Cup final.
Little flicks behind his leg.
That's the best 8 minutes.
Because he would have scored.
Yeah,
he would. I was like, no, just leave it.
I'm not angry at it. It was a beautiful.
It was, but it would have been great.
And he
But I
deserved it
love
because he worked his arse
but
off.
his little tuck, his little, what was it, outside of his foot, wasn't it? That poke
Touched
through
the gap,
it was
but
gorgeous. But it was a handicap. All that you've described is correct, but not having forwards when you're playing against a bottom 3 team, potential low block, when being blunt is your worst nightmare. And
to be fair, it was not a low block.
No, it wasn't. It was a very high block.
There was a potential low block, though.
First 20 was off his head. Did anyone else get onto this?
Yeah.
One of the maddest things I've ever seen. Honestly, I was just looking at it. There were 3 defenders on the halfway line.
I thought they were great, by the way.
They all were.
Yeah.
And then the right back, whether it was a goal kick or general play, just drops it 10 yards back. Yeah. And I'm like, is this good? Is this bad? The only thing that annoyed me was we didn't sort of stand in someone.
We didn't work it out the other side.
Gakpo.
No.
Darwin Núñez is probably standing in line with him 10 yards in their half going, well, you come.
He's on the centre spot.
Whereas Gakpo was like, nope, can't go in their half. I've got to stay here. And it annoyed me a bit.
This is where I disagree with E about Kelleher's kicking. It was clearly under instruction.
Oh, it was under instruction, but it was bad.
He nearly makes 2 clear. He nearly has 2 assists in the first 10 minutes.
But what they're trying to do is they're trying to exploit that.
But after the first 10 minutes.
They're trying to get Gakpo to win a flick on.
Yeah.
So
Well, Gakpo was doing the Fellaini thing. It was all chest, wasn't it?
They wanted him to win the flick on and Diaz to run him behind. The amount of times Diaz just got him behind on like just a horizontal run across the back of the defenders was mental.
But I loved their approach, Phil. Yeah. In that it's the sort of thing that you say, and I think their manager's in a really unique position, I think, in a way, because no one's expected them to stay up. They're playing better and performing better than everyone expected, including people internally in the club. The players themselves all believe in him and they believe in everything that they're going through. So he's in a position to be able to say to Anfield, don't do a low block. Yeah. Let's go there. Let's make it absolutely insane. Let's compress them all over the pitch and see what we get. And I think in the end, where it ends up with 4-1, and he speaks so warmly afterwards, and I'm pleased he does, because, and I was pleased in general, a lot of the Luton supporters I saw online, including the ones who contribute to what we do, afterwards were all like, I've never heard atmosphere like that, or I've not heard atmosphere like that in years. And I'm pleased that bit came over and that they had the withdrawal to say that. Yeah. But I think that comes, in a way, it comes from their approach. It comes from the fact that their manager's very positive, open, honest, that he's like that, they got to be like that as well, if you see what I mean. And the football they play in that game, I think, filters into that, where I'm going away from it going, good side with good players doing a couple of interesting things, may not stay up, but my God, I'd rather watch them than many a side that turns up to Anfield and just puts 10 behind the ball.
Yeah, he's been the most impressive thing about them for me this season, because I look at those players and I think they're probably going to get relegated. I don't think that's unfair to say it. What Premier League teams are taking any of their players? I don't think there's any that are being taken. Possibly Ross Barkley, but at the same time,
Adebayo was not playing.
They could have had them in the summer.
Yeah.
Ross Barkley's really good.
He's
But
excellent.
again,
He was excellent.
every Premier League team wants him. Could have had them in the summer.
Yeah.
So he's got, and I watch a lot of them, and I'm like, I don't think they're at this
Doughty?
level. I'm not sure.
Do you know who Ross Barkley should play for? Spurs.
He's
so
a very
Spurs.
talented. He is very talented.
They
Isn't
love
he? He's
him.
played for Chelsea
Spurs.
as well, so that's got to be that's usually in.
I think it was interesting that they got Ryan Gosling to actually be the manager for the interviews. He's ridiculous, isn't he? Every time you see him, he's so Hollywood, that guy. And his delivery is so, he's just a brilliant communicator. He looks great.
I think
You'd have Rob Edwards just on all the optics.
There's a lot of Premier League teams you should genuinely be looking at and going,
West Ham.
he's got something. West Ham is a great example of someone who should be looking at.
You've got to wish him well, haven't you?
You've got to wish him well. If he was here now, I'd buy him an Erdinger.
Oh, you would buy him.
I'd have my arm round him.
What did he had about 4 sound bites that just made you as a Liverpool fan
Yeah.
bristle with
I
pride.
really enjoyed the Jaden Dance thing when he just walks up to him and goes, I played with his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw somebody on Twitter saying, I saw his dad play last year.
Yeah,
I think
he was playing for Macclesfield last year.
He was still champion 3 years ago, wasn't
He
he?
was Champions system manager.
Jaden Dan's from Liverpool, he is. He's from the city centre. Feels like.
Yeah, he could be from anywhere because his dad's played all over, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
His dad's a bit of a journeyman around this sort of.
So
What
basically
soundbite
needs to
made you
Google where his dad
proudest?
was 20 years ago.
What did he say? There were so many. I mean, something, they now know what the elite is like. That was a very, very nice one.
We learn what it's like to play the best, I think, was one of them.
We learn what it's like to play the best, yeah.
There's so many. They're all up
I enjoy reading their fans just like that's the lads that I've at the football ground.
Yeah, that's what I really enjoyed.
I didn't even notice that we were loud.
Oh, what?
I didn't.
Really?
No, I didn't notice at the
That
time.
was-
I was too busy
Being loud.
That 15 minutes after half time is the absolute epitome of when Anfield's good. And I get really annoyed when people talk about his atmosphere and they're like, oh, you know, you need to make the cop red and you need to sing for 90 minutes. You don't. Like,
No one's ever sung for 90 minutes, ever.
Exactly. And people think they have. I hear people, and I can sort of hear songs start from the cop on the halfway line and, you know, I'll hear someone start up like every other Saturday. And I'm like, is that's not atmosphere.
No.
That's not atmosphere. Atmosphere is where it's loud and you're basically knocking the opposition out of their comfort zone.
My favourite soundbite was when he said, we need to work out how to play when you can't hear your mate next to you.
Is that what he
He
said?
said you can't hear your mate next to you. And I was like, and that was exactly, to me it was reminiscent, and it's a really weird comparison of City 17-18. There's bits in 17-18, that game against City, where like Kyle Walker just kicks it out for a throw at one point, because it's like he doesn't know where to look or what to do, so he just kicks it out for a throw. Because I'll sort this out in a minute, because right now I just need to get my head right. And there's a point where you see the City players turn to Guardiola, like, what do we do? And Guardiola's like, well, don't fucking ask me.
But the thing is, they don't need to learn to play when you can't hear your mate next to you, because it only happens against us. There's nobody else doing that to them.
Do you know how I felt?
And by the way, it only happened against us for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, if we'd have just won 2-0, they'd never experienced it.
Let's go with what MCFC 42398 says on Twitter.
I have to make, if there was one player who lit the proverbial blue touch paper for us that second half, for me it was Conor Bradley. And something different. First half, I was frustrated by the fact that, well, their left-sided forward.
He wasn't involved first half.
Their left-sided forward had him pinned back. He didn't do anything wrong.
So did Doughty. I think Phil's a bit harsh on Doughty. I like Doughty.
I don't know if Liverpool, Klopp said we didn't make any tactical changes, but somehow Conor Bradley was 30, 40 yards further forward from minute 1 second off. And I thought he turned the game. That when he cuts inside and he gets a half shot away.
Well,
I think was
he
unbelievable,
gets
Conor Bradley.
he gets further up so that Elliot can move further in.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the first
yeah,
half,
yeah.
Elliot's just kind of like marooned on the wing.
At 1-0, he has it's just before the bit. He breaks into the box, the penalty appeal, doesn't he? Where
Yes.
the ball goes out wide. But
I've got to go to the break.
I know, I'm very conscious of that, and you'd have been there by now if I'd have finished.
I've got to go to the break.
Anyway.
I've got to go to the break. Erdinger, Spanish Caravan. We talk about Luton at home for about an hour, which, by the way, at half-time, when me and Rob were looking at each other, we were not going to talk about Luton at home ever again. So I'm not quite sure what happened. And yet, Luton at home happened, and it was the best thing that's ever happened to us League Cup final in a minute.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
And now we're back, and the point of it is, Rob, now is back to, that was the team, and I think the team will be unchanged. with the exception of Konate and Robertson in. Sorry, 2 changes. Konate and Robertson will come in. But it'll be the same attack. I think it'll be the same midfield. And the point of it is that we now find ourselves sort of excited by them off the back of that game against Luton, even though we'd rather that it was other footballers who could be at least available. You're still looking at it going, oh God, if they can just play like that second half, that'd be great. Now, I think that'll be hard at Wembley, don't get me wrong, but I am very much all in for seeing what this Liverpool team does again, even though I think they might be in for a long afternoon. Yeah,
I can't imagine the game will bear many similarities to that, just because it's a bigger pitch. You can't... in the times we watched
the first person to mention the size of the pitch that I've heard.
Is that a joke? Because everyone does.
It's one of my favourite cliches. No, like
it is a cliche.
In the run up to this game, what I mean is in general, and post-match, I'll be telling everyone about how big that pitch is. Don't you worry. But you're the first. I'm glad you've done it. You're bigger pitch person one.
But whenever you're there, you go, it's a big pitch, isn't it? Whenever you're there, it just feels like, and the grass always looks longer to me. Maybe it's because I'm always lower down at Wembley than I am in other games. I always feel it looks like it's graft. Wembley, whatever you're doing, it looks.
You're low down, are you? I'm high. Well, I'm usually low in your.
No, my last number of Wembleys, I've been low down.
So it's a much better view because the camber of the pitch is really weird.
It is weird. It's a weird camber.
No one's ever used that sentence before, have they?
I like it. You're right.
It's a weird camber.
Semi-final, we'll all go front row the upper tier. It's bell better.
So the game. So the unchanged thing. How will we? There was 2 walking wounded. I don't know what you're laughing.
I'm just laughing at the weird camber. And I actually agree. And I think it's a very good observation. Like I think it does have a weird camber.
It's got the weirdest from my experience.
Well, of course. Yeah. It's
first come to have a camber.
Go on. No more camber chat.
So
I'm a camber man.
The unchanged thing is, at the end of the game, Klopp was sort of intimating that he had walking wounded again, right? Because if you watch it, Gakpo spends the last 10 minutes trying to shake out something from his foot.
That was cramp.
Yeah. I know, but cramp.
He put the yards in, hadn't he?
Salah had cramp and he's out. But, we'll see.
An injury. Come on, that's
the interesting, you've seen all the training not the training, but the sort of around the academy vid state. If you try to read things that you shouldn't be trying to read things into, Darwin, I think, might make the bench. Salah, I don't think. I don't. Maybe. I hope so. There's no sign of Big Dom, was there? So I don't think we'll see any Big Dom. But I think we might.
He was mentioned.
Pep still
he was mentioned. But you're asking me to bet. I'm going to say I think you'll see one of them on the bench, and that will do me. That's all we need. But
I think there'll be a situation where the plan for Salah and Nunes to play potentially 60 minutes, like they come on 60.
I just don't see it.
Got it in and they play an hour. I don't. Like, it didn't, like, they're clearly not in awful nick.
They're not fucked, but
they're not broke.
But you don't want to take them into a zone where you lose them for 3 weeks.
Now,
right?
so I'm the flip side of Wednesday now, wherein I don't want them to take any part.
Okay. I think you've got to see where we are on it.
I think Klopp's going to be borderline. I think he's going to be. This is why I think
the biggest game of the next day is Nottingham Forest away. The biggest game of the next 5, 6 is Manchester City.
Some people are going to disagree with you about that.
Well, that's fine.
That's fine.
Those people feel to be crystal clear can go fuck themselves. The biggest game of the next 3 is Nottingham Forest
winning things is nice.
Well, if you think winning things is nice,
yeah,
but winning the league's better than winning things.
It's been a long. The league table to me after the Luton game, even though I expected it to look the way it looked, when you got to look at the way the league table looked immediately after the Luton game, in reality on the BBC website, when you got to look at it, I went, fucking hell, I love what that looks like. And I will fight until the end of time for it to continue to look like that, please. That is a great looking league table.
Right, we're currently with the bookies about 37-38% to win this league. If we win our next 2 league games, I reckon we'll be about 54%.
We'll be odds on. If we win Manchester City,
we'll be odds on. So 54-58% to win it. So these 2 next league games are the biggest games in our history. Well, they are incredibly important.
That's
now,
the clip.
To me, if Salah and Nunes are 98% fit, but you can have them, but by giving them another 4 or 5 days, you can get them pristine for those 2 games. I'm tempted.
You are also able to give them the entire. The problem, not a problem that we've got. We have, like, some people have to play against Southampton on Wednesday night.
Oh, that's why I'm playing them, by the way. I'm giving them minutes. I know.
Sorry. Hang on.
Right,
okay, I need you. I'm gonna.
You're going to do this?
Really?
Well, no, here's what I mean by that. I don't mean I'm not starting them. I don't want them, but I want a little bit. If they need minutes for rhythm ahead, then they get 15,
My
20.
position on that was giving them the week off.
You could do.
I don't want to tweak anything. I would
that's the thing,
I would have.
Why would you mess with perfection?
We're doing this from a position that we don't know.
Wonderful. Why
Eventually,
change it?
eventually they have
I'm
to
in
play
love with
football,
the
you know?
C11.
Eventually they have to play football.
Yeah, but I think the weekend just Excel on the bench, just psychologically, just to have him sat on the bench, just to scare the shit out of them.
The problem with that is that works in theory, but then you forget
You're 1-0 down on 75.
Just don't
and
use
also our manager will look at the bench on about
And
minute
go,
3
I can
and
have him.
go, this should be improving more Mo Salah, because that's what he's like, because he's so in the moment, he exists in the moment, and I think that's
He
part
is
of
purely
life.
game by game, isn't he?
Ultimately, because we don't know what they're.
We don't know that reality.
They might both be absolutely fine, and they might have. It might be that they weren't involved the other night because he was like, "We can beat these without these being involved." They might have been.
He said they couldn't play.
Well,
But
he wasn't
couldn't play and couldn't play are
He
two
was
different
never
things,
going to
aren't
say they're absolutely fine. I'm just not going to bother with them because it's Luton. He's never going to say that.
That'd be great, though.
It
Well,
would
he
be really
could.
funny, wouldn't it? It'd be
It-
all balls out.
But then
lose.
Rob
Then
Edwards,
imagine you lose, and
Well,
then
they
he
clearly
goes.
weren't
but also
fit
Rob
to play.
Edwards wouldn't say as many sound things
No,
after
exactly.
the VC.
No.
Exactly.
And we've got to remember Rob Edwards is the true hero of our season.
Yeah. I mean, I reckon we should just get him in the summer.
That's controversial.
Sod Alonso. It's now him or Alonso. All we need is a handsome manager.
Exactly.
I think that's the way forward, isn't it?
Handsome
Really?
managers.
Yes, I think it is.
FC Hansen.
Okay, let's do the cup final then. So I think there'll be 2 changes, no one else. There might be something on the bench, there might not be. How's we're going to get on?
How do you think we're going to get on?
I think we're going to get on, yeah.
For that question.
It's the big question. It's the one on everyone's lips.
I'm trying to tell myself I'm actually quite relaxed about it for all the
I'm
reasons.
really
you just-
relaxed about it, but I don't think we're going to win.
I think we will. I do think we will.
That's all right.
No, I do. I think confidence is a special thing in football, and I think enough of them are in a really good. Well, a lot of them in a really good. What you fucking cunt? Piss off.
Excellent news. Keep going.
Is that what Erdinger wanted to hear?
Yeah, that's fine. Keep going. Take no notice of it.
Can I get that on a t-shirt?
Luis Diaz, I thought, had an interesting game, and I think he finished it confident.
Yeah.
And he was in the game at all times, so I think he could have an important contribution.
Luis Diaz, as soon as he scores, turns his game into one that was frustrating to a very good performance. As soon as he scores, that's the way football
I think
works.
the 10 seconds before he scores, he actually remembers who he is and
Yes.
he scores a great goal. And then he's a different footballer. Conor Bradley is a man whose confidence can't be knocked. And Endo's growing with every game. McAllister's growing with every game. Who else do we have in midfield? I'm forgetting now.
Endo and McAllister are a great partnership.
Gravenberch.
Yeah, Endo and McAllister are
Endo
great
was superb. Endo was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
He's quietly superb. isn't
I
he?
thought Andy Robert was really good when he came.
He was great. So we're going to win?
Yeah. I wasn't even doubting until you said a second ago that we're not going to win. And then I had this little sort of like tremor of, oh shit, maybe we won't. Yeah, we're going to win.
Liverpool in a cup finals is going to go to penalties, isn't it? That's how it generally works.
Against Chelsea.
No, it's not.
And then we've got the king of penalty shootouts in goal, haven't we? So, at both ends of the pitch.
And that's the brilliant thing, because the last 2 cups were won by Kelleher and Tsimikas.
Yeah.
So this one belongs to Conor Bradley or Joe Gomez.
By the way,
There we are.
Tsimikas is likely to be our most advanced change off the bench. I'm just going to say
No,
that.
I think Dan's will be. I think he will use the young lads. I think he'll use Dan's. I think he'll use Clark, and I think he'll use McConnell. I think he'll use them. So, but do you think? What I think is just my thing is the reason why I think it's going to be. I think they've got enough players who know what it is, as they showed against Man City, to play a top 4 level. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And in moments they can do that. But I also think for them it's death or glory for this season in a way that it isn't for us. And I sort of think that. They'll have a few changes at about 70 that we won't necessarily have. And I think that works in their favour. I think basically, normally when we play at the minute, I think 1-1 on 60 suits us. I think in this game, 1-1 on 60 suits them.
Possibly. They're a peculiar side because you mentioned them playing the top 4 level. They didn't play like a top 4 side at City, though, really. Did
No,
they?
but they could in
get
moments.
involved in the game. For me, they played like a really good sort of
Wolves.
That's what they played.
They've got 4 Pedro Netos, not 1.
But their problem this season hasn't necessarily been in those games. It's been when they've been expected to be the team on the front foot. That's been where it's been their problem. Now, is the Liverpool lineup / setup / set of available players, does that mean that it gives Chelsea more ability to be on the front foot, and does that work against them? I think it could.
I think the only way we can play though is that we play on the front foot no matter what team we put out. I don't think we'll play back foot football.
That's not necessarily what I meant. I sort of meant more from an expectation point.
Can I flip it? The way I'd flip it is though, I think that what's dead interesting is I think if we score first, especially if we were to say score after 55, if we've got Konate and Van Dijk, we've got the best centre halves on the pitch. And that I think the way we win the game is by scoring first, relatively late in the game, and then basically seeing it out by defending for our lives. And I like it when our centre halves defend for their lives. They don't have to do it very often, but when they have to, they can do it. And that's, I think, really weirdly, I think that might prove our way home. But anyway, it's been excellent. Profane at times. It's had moments of highs. There's been some lows. There's been a lot of Rob Edwards, more than some would expect. It's been a pleasure with Spanish Caravan. It's been Rob Gutmann, it's been Ian Salmon, it's been Phil Blundell, I'm Neil Atkinson. You can come and see us at Box Park on the Saturday night if you fancy it. You don't have to, but it would be nice if you do. Regardless, whatever you do, just enjoy the cup final because they're in one and they've got that manager. He's good.